Most people think they train hard. Most coaches think they know what performance is. Why are both groups usually wrong?
The biggest problem that people have is they forget this really important thing, life. We have life outside of the gym. And that is where the essence of true performance comes in. People get so busy focusing on something which has no return on their investment. And I taught a seminar recently about managing weight cuts. And people do dumb stuff like try and drop 15, 20% body weight for a competition weight cut, maybe getting a medal that's never going to pay your bills. It's not true performance. It's a fallacy.
If someone trains for 4-5 times a week, eats clean, still looks and feels the same after years, what are they actually doing wrong?
I always say to people, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And this is the thing people don't realize. In the sports performance world, there's this thing called periodization. The way you train, the way you eat has to change in cycles. Performance for me fundamentally is not getting sick. Because when your body performs well, you just don't get sick. High performance as a male means every morning you wake up with an erection. It means you have a natural sex drive.
What are the biggest mistakes that people do when they say they train hard?
So I think that's a double-edged coin. People think they're training hard, but they're actually not training hard. And that's where a good coach can come into play. A good coach knows how to read movement to gauge if someone's actually fatigued or they're just being mentally weak.
Welcome to Shredify Podcast. Train like an adult, not an influencer. Performance, nutrition, and longevity. Today's guest played a meaningful role in my evolution as a coach. He was mentoring me, challenging my thinking, raised my standards, and forced me to see performance beyond aesthetics and trends. He is professional in true sense of the word. His work in performance, nutrition, training, and methodology and longevity is built on years of study, and I would say which are applied to real world. This is a professional conversation about what real performance looks like for adults who wants to get results, better health, longevity without chasing nonsense. Eloy, welcome.
Thank you, Luka, for having me on. I look forward to this.
Look, let us start straight to the point. Most people think they train hard. Most coaches think they know what performance is. Why are both groups usually wrong?
Because the biggest problem that people have is they forget this really important thing, life. We have life outside of the gym. People are married, they have careers, they have children, they have businesses, or they have jobs. And that is where the essence of true performance comes in. People get so busy focusing on something which has no return on their investment. I always speak to people, jiu-jitsu is a great example. You did jiu-jitsu for a while. People go mental into jiu-jitsu. And I taught a seminar recently about managing weight cuts. And people do dumb stuff, like try and drop 15, 20% body weight for a competition weight cut, with which jeopardizes your health, jeopardizes your work, jeopardizes your relationships, because if you're a husband or you're a wife, you're not in a good mood for that weight cut, and you're not in the good mood post-weight cut. All for what? Maybe getting a medal that's never going to pay your bills. Most professional jiu-jitsu coaches don't earn enough money from jiu-jitsu. And this is the thing, people can get so tied up with something that fundamentally means nothing. Married women getting hyper obsessed about an 8-pack when they're married with kids. You're sacrificing your marriage and your mothering in order to focus on aesthetic which doesn't actually help your life. And the same for men. It's not true performance. It's a fallacy based around social media influencing.
That's what I want to say. Do you think, I have to follow up straight, do you think the social media has the crucial role in creating this cloud which people are chasing, and this cloud is not real?
Correct. It's a dangerous world that we're currently in. I was speaking to my wife about it earlier, and I said, the reality of where the world is going, you're one of two people. You're the people that have created a fake life on social media that people watch, or you're the person who slaves away paying the people on social media. So did you know there's a woman who earns an absolute fortune online, and this is what she does. She pretends dolls, baby dolls, are real, and she sets up scenarios around her house as if they're real children, and she makes an absolute fortune on social media because of it. Do you see the retardedness of that logic? she sets up a room, there's a baby doll hanging out of the crib, and she goes, "Oh, Daisy, what have you done? Oh my gosh, I've got to clean you up," and people are watching and paying to watch it.
That's what I've heard recently, that the biggest earners on social media are the people who are live streaming their life.
Yeah.
Their life. They're not speaking anything. They're literally sitting in front of the TV, playing games, eating their lunch, dinner, and just filming themselves what they do, because they say it's something which is triggering. That's something what is triggering actually. People are lonely, and they want to spend time with somebody. It's just mind-blowing. So I have to follow up straight. If someone trains for 4-5 times a week, eats clean, and still looks and feels the same after years, what are they actually doing wrong?
That's a really good question. And the fundamental issue is, I always say to people, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And this is the thing people don't realize. In the sports performance world, there's this thing called periodization. The way you train, the way you eat has to change in cycles. If you're working with an Olympic athlete, which I have, your training cycles and your nutrition cycles are planned out 4 years in advance. 4 years worth of training program planned out at once with changes. And that's a mistake people make. They don't create enough of a change in stimulus to continue to elicit a response. So they just stagnate and get stuck in a routine, which is what the human body likes to do. It's why the world has thrived on 9 to 5, and people have made money off people on the 9 to 5, because the human body naturally gets suckered into a routine and stagnates and just turns into a donut. But you can't do that. You've got to create sufficient variety with a consistent stressor in order to continue to get results. And that's where people make a mistake. They eat the same food, do the same training program, go to the same gym, go to the same everything, and expect a different result. It may work for the first 1 month, maybe 2 months, if for an outlier 3 months, but then that's it stops. But by then the habit's set. So they continue doing the same thing over and over again. There's no periodization.
Interesting. And there is something, for instance, what I faced most is that my online clients will come and ask me after 2 weeks being on new program, when we're going to change the program. This is the same.
That's another same issue.
Same issue.
Just
exactly.
the other side of the coin, where people want to change to kind of, there's a problem with social media. The brain has got, so I think the average attention span now for the human being is 4 to 5 seconds. For children, it's about 2 seconds. So after 10 to 15 seconds, 5 seconds, the average human brain can no longer focus on a set thing. So the same thing then escalates onto their training programs. They all think they are a fast twitch muscle responder which needs a lot of stimulus change, but they're not. They're just unable to be bored. And therefore, they want constantly changing programs, not realizing you need some consistency, just not too much consistency. You've got to get that balance right.
Makes sense. I just want to highlight that we'll split this podcast into 4 phases. I'm not sure where we're going to reach in the episode 1, but I just want to tell the people that if they like the podcast that we're going to place out there, do not forget to comment and to tell us what you would like to hear, because this is definitely part 1. The podcast is quite huge, and there are so many questions which we will be going through. Now, the phase 1, training, performance, strength, and hypertrophy. When you say performance, what do you mean? What is the highlight that you want to put on somebody when somebody says performance?
So for me, the COVID pandemic really brought it to light. How well do you survive illness? Performance for me fundamentally is not getting sick. That for me is a definition of performance. Because when your body performs well, you just don't get sick. So what does that mean? For you as a male, high performance as a male means every morning you wake up with an erection. It means you have a natural sex drive. It means you don't get sick every time someone sneezes around you. It means you can go down in a moldy basement, do some cleaning, go back upstairs, dig a hole, go home, and then be intimate with your wife and not feel like trash. That is performance as a male. For a female, performance, having a regular menstrual cycle, not having your hair fall out, being able to conceive naturally, being able to give birth naturally without interventions. These are all signs of performance for a male and female body. And that fundamentally is what we should all be striving for, is to not get sick. Because when we're sick, we don't get to have fun, we don't get to enjoy life, we can't get paid at work. Therefore, that for me is a definition of performance.
It's a domino effect. It's a domino effect, definitely. Yeah. And we are speaking now about general population. We will not get into athletic performance because this is something else.
Well, I think their job is to win a gold medal at the Olympics. Their job is to score the finishing goal in the World Cup final. It's a different goal, but even for them, it's still the same thing. They can't get sick.
Yeah, but I truly believe that on this level, it's impossible to not sacrifice your health at some level if you are chasing the elite performance.
Correct. So I used to work with one Olympic weightlifter, and it was a female, and one sacrifice that she had to make is she had no period.
Yeah,
she had to take hormones to, birth control to basically regulate, so she never had a period because that change in hormone changes her strength. And you just can't have that happen during an Olympic training cycle.
Or for instance, UFC, you can see that the guys are chopping like crazy amount of weight within 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, like 15, 20 kg to drop down just for one day and then get your weight up is not something that is healthy and is not something that you can do through.
Well, actually, it's not as bad as people think. And that's why I was teaching the jiu-jitsu seminar. Extreme weight loss cuts are actually very simple to do and aren't so detrimental on performance, as long as you have enough money or medical support to push you through it. And that's where people go wrong. They try and do UFC-style weight cuts without the UFC-backed science.
But I remember I used to speak with Habib, and Habib said that something that is the hardest part when it comes to general UFC, MMA, any martial art sport. That weight loss was extremely painful, and then he would get usually sick after that, and all this stuff. Immunity will not be the same because he will go very aggressive on this fat loss journey. Actually, weight loss is not really just fat loss, but then recovery after that is quite tiring. He said
it's hard, but the last UFC fighter I worked with, he went from 90 kilos to compete in the high 60s in 2-month cycle, and he was fine.
Crazy.
But again, it's that hard thing of understanding the difference between science, bro science. Both will get the same result. The difference between science and bro science is real science costs someone an actual fortune to get. And that's where people kind of skip out. Well, different conversation.
Understand. So I just want to frame the things around the training because I believe that many people are confused. What are the actual difference when you say hypertrophy training, strength training, endurance training?
Great question. So the biggest difference between all of the training variables is fundamentally time under tension. Bodybuilders are great at it, maintaining constant tension, partial reps, never locking out. Fundamentally, the time under tension or how long the muscle is under pain will depict the result that the muscle gets. So when someone is aiming for strength training, you're typically not looking to get that much bigger. You're looking from anywhere from sort of 18 to about maximum 40 seconds of total time under tension. And that will then elicit your strength responses. When you're then hitting towards your hypertrophy, you're in and around 60 seconds of total time under tension. So that's the time the muscle's working. And then when you're hitting endurance, you're in and around 120, 150 seconds. And then, of course, everything is a spectrum along those lines. And that's understanding the difference between them. The way or what you're training for, say high rocks, you're looking for more strength endurance, which means you should have bigger sets. But let's say you're looking at powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting, you're then looking for pure strength, which means you're now looking for shorter time under tension.
Makes sense. And just now, as you explained, the meaning of training, if you had to rebuild someone from scratch, what are the non-negotiables of their weekly training routine?
Great question. So for me, when someone's being rebuilt, the non-negotiable from their training routine, number one, split squats. No one gets the height from split squats. But number two is walking. Low intensity zone 1 cardio.
Why split squat? Just to, we have to dig into that, because I've seen this guy. What's the name? Who was Mr. Olympia?
There's been a lot of Mr. Olympias.
Anyway, he was doing actually split squats, and I remember
The way I teach to them, or
same
same way.
exactly
The proper way.
proper way. And can you explain to people why actually split squats are important?
It's a great question. So when split squats are done properly, which is complete knee flexion, which is your hamstring fully covering your calf, with your torso upright, perpendicular to the floor, with your back leg straight, aka your legs look like they're in the splits. You're getting correct knee flexion. Now, when it comes to your knee ligaments, only when they're in complete knee flexion are all of the ligaments carrying equal load. So when people do partial reps, you get an imbalance of load across the knee ligaments, which is why things like ACLs and meniscuses all blow out, because the knee is not being used to training under complete flexion. So that's number one. It helps build a healthy, strong knee. And number two, we're all sitting too much. So when you're then doing a correct split squat with the back leg leaning back, that starts to open up the hip flexors. It starts to correct hip imbalances, which will therefore fix most people's back pain. So it's why it's a non-negotiable for 99% of people I work with. Split squats are always in there. They're in there 11 months of the year, whether they like it or not, it's a non-negotiable. They either learn to accept it, or 2 in 300 will learn to love them. I'm going to show you had 2 clients that love them.
I used to hate them, and I remember first time when you introduced the split squat, I was, what the hell is that? And then we started normally, and then you added the tempo. It was 4-4-1-0. It's mental, but it's a great. I think at the time I had my quads. They were like so huge at that time, and I can relay that it's a really great exercise, and people they don't like for
People
some
don't
reason.
like it. Well, it's painful.
Yeah. Let's get to mistakes. What are the biggest mistakes that you think actually that people do when they say they train hard, and in fact they are not training hard?
Oh. So I think that's a double-edged coin, or a double-edged blade. There's the point you said that people think they're training hard, but they're actually not training hard.
Yeah.
And you kind of got this messy sense of perception. It's like you perceive you're training hard. Now, when I used to coach, I coached the first CrossFit team from the Middle East to go to the CrossFit regionals. And when I used to do my CrossFit training sessions, every athlete had to turn up with a heart rate strap. They'd turn up, they'd put their phone on the box, and then they'd get on with my program. And when it would come to things, they'd be like, hey, Musa, faster, no, faster, no. Okay, now your 20 seconds starts. Now your 20 seconds starts. You're being lazy, because their perception of tired wasn't actually tired yet. They were just mentally weak. So that's where sometimes data can help. But this is kind of the problem, when people perceive they're training hard, but they're not. And that's where a good coach can come into play. A good coach knows how to read movement, how to read an athlete's body to gauge if someone's actually fatigued or they're just being mentally weak. And that's where a good coach will come in. A coach will learn how to pull someone out of that mental weakness and pull them into the fire of fortitude and real training. And that's a hard thing to do as a coach. And then the second side of the blade, when people are training hard, is actually the problem they have is they're not eating the correct fuel to train hard.
Yeah, we'll come on this point with nutrition, definitely. In this case, let's say if we have now the frame in front of us, what would you suggest to the guy who is sitting on the sofa and watching that, and he doesn't know where to start?
Mm-hmm.
How would you structure his training plan? How to start with? What would be the step one?
Good question. So for a normal person coming straight off the back end of being a couch potato, the first step for them when it comes to training is walking. Get some walking in. Outside of that, when it comes to training, it's actually just keeping it really simple. Start with what's called general preparatory phases, GPP, or just really simple, boring stuff. Step-ups, bicep curls, deltoids, maybe a bit of pull down, maybe a bit of bench, but nothing insane. Now, why is that important? Because in the simple movements can they start to learn how to control their mind and their body under stress. Now, I'm ex-military, I'm used to stress. I have been pushed harder to the point where I couldn't see. But your average person has not. They are soft, they're a marshmallow man. They don't know what pain is like and they don't know how to tolerate pain. So that's why simple training is so effective. Because when you start with the basics as a coach and as a person, you're learning how to tolerate a little bit of pain and push through it. Bicep pain is nothing compared to quad pain. Once you learn how to tolerate some bicep pain, we can start building you up to a bit of lat pain, to a bit of lower back pain. Then we start going to let's do some drop sets on a split squat pain.
This is psychology, and it's really great thing to start with.
Yeah.
When you understand the philosophy, actually.
Yeah, you have to start with the basics because your average person, and as coaches, I still make this mistake. I made this mistake recently with a client. I pushed them too quickly, but as in I got them onto the more fun stuff too soon, and she was getting upset, and I've just regressed her program back this month. But it's an important thing we have to understand that as coaches and or people training, you should never rush to do the hard stuff. Learn to master the basics and learn to be good at them. Because there's no point trying to be good at pull-ups and drop sets on a pull-down machine if you can't handle a simple bicep curl pain. And that's why it's so important to start with simple exercises first. Because for you as a person, you're building tolerance, you're building education, you're building endurance. And as a coach, you're starting to build up their foundation. So when you start to hit them with a baseball bat, they're not going to break down and cry.
I have to follow up with that, because I think as well people are not they're having lack of patience to stick and to follow actual plan. They want everything too quick, too soon.
I think also in part, to come back to that sort of influencer thing, they look to how the influencers train and go, well, that guy or that girl trains like this. That's why they look like that. This basic beginners program isn't going to do anything for me. And it's like going, hey, let's see I don't really play football. I never really played football as a kid. Past was playing in the park. And you go to Eloy, let's go. We're going to go do Cristiano Ronaldo's program. That's not going to make me play like Cristiano Ronaldo. That'll make my football worse because I haven't learned the basics. But that's the problem, because people look to the influencers, to social media and go, that's how that person trains and that's why they look like that. No, that is not why that person looks like that. That is just what that person's put on social media. That's it. And that's where people go wrong. They get impatient, like you said, but they go, I want to do what they're doing because they think that's what it's going to look like, which is obviously just retarded. Doesn't make sense.
Do you think that overtraining is actually a real thing? Because we were speaking about people, they think they train hard, but actually they not. Do you think that overtraining is really there when it comes to general population? I'm asking because just I have some example. So my client, online client, texted me. He said, "Hey, I'm doing 3 times per week weight training, which is fun, complete fun, and 3 times per week Muay Thai. I think I couldn't lose the weight because I was having so much volume, and as soon as I dropped weight training, I lost weight." I said, "My friend, no, you just stopped eating." Do you think actually there is a problem with the overtraining?
So, in the context of the example you said, I have had many, many people come to me that are overtraining, under-eating, and gain weight. The minute they train less and eat more, they lose weight. So, it's definitely a thing where your average person will be overtraining, under-eating, and not getting results because of something called leptin. It causes systematic inflammation. It then down-regulates metabolism because people are not able to regulate themselves correctly.
But I have again the follow-up question because I'm really confused. In this case, if that's the real thing, the people in concentration camps a long time ago, they would be all like normal because they were starving all the time, under stress, working whole day, and when you see the pictures, they are just like skin and bone.
Correct. Because, so I use this as a good example. I had one client, she came to me and she said, "Eloy, I have been to everyone and I've never lost any weight. And I know you're going to fail." And I said, "This is a good start to a consultation. My gosh, you've driven all the way from Abu Dhabi. You paid a fortune for my test and this is how you're starting? Oof." Anyway, so we proceed and she's like, "I did this diet. She's naming all the big coaches and I'm like, "And they all failed." And I said, "Wow, this is pressure now." I said, "Well, let's go. Let's do your metabolic test." So did her body fat calipers. As per science and her height, weight, body fat percentage, her resting metabolic rate should have been about 1,150 calories. Okay. Did her test. Her resting metabolic rate was actually 800 calories, which means when she's a couch potato,
800 calories. Okay.
Yeah, her resting potato. So at rest, as a potato, she was burning 800 calories. It should have been 1,150. So she's already 300 calories less than what she should be. Great. PT's 5 times a week. Does 2,000, 4,000 steps a day. Her calorie expenditure is about 1,100, 1,200 calories. So when she's eating 1,000 calories thinking she's starving, she's not. She's in what's called a healthy deficit. But here's the problem. Weekend hits. 2 bottles of wine a night plus cheese, meat, this and this that comes with wine. So no matter what deficit she ever did during the week, it was being undone on a weekend. And then this is then kind of what happens when people go wrong. They can then be in a deficit, overtraining, under-eating, and then they'll blow it on a weekend. Or if not on a weekend, on a month. And or they've created a negative feedback loop of inflammation and toxicity, which then means their body never loses weight. It just gets more and more bloated. Why? Because let's use a concentration camp example. In concentration camps, they are not surrounded by plastic perfume air fresheners. They are not surrounded by electronic magnetic frequency pollution. They weren't surrounded by 5G. They weren't surrounded by Wi-Fi. They weren't surrounded by fake artificial flickering lights. They weren't surrounded by processed junk food. They just had no food. And what they were given was just slops of basic rice or wheat, and that was it. So your average person can then be under-eating, overtraining, saturating their body with toxins, which the body has to do something with. If they're under-eating, the liver down-regulates. If the liver down-regulates, the body's got to store toxins somewhere. Toxins all get stored in fatty tissue. Now, I had one client, went through the whole shebang with her, couldn't get results. And I said, "Man, I am lost." I said, "Listen, I'm sorry to say, let's just invest in a test. Do an environmental toxins test. Let's see what's happening." Test comes back and there's one toxin, she's through the roof. like off the chart on. And I said, I'm so confused. You don't go running. Your hobby is not to suck on car exhaust fumes. And I know you don't go to the malls. But you are so high in this toxin that's found in all of those, or you don't come in here smelling of perfume, or it's saturated in perfumes, in fake air fresheners. And she said, Eloy, I've got 2 pugs at home. My apartment, every plug has an artificial air freshener in there. I said, okay, get rid of them. She got rid of them, changed to natural air smelling things. Within 6 months, all of her weight dropped off.
Just because of one single thing. Wow.
So there are anomalies and there are cases where people can do everything right and they don't lose weight. And it can come down to something as stupid as toxins. Or it can come down to something as stupid as a poor functioning liver. Or for the majority, it's poor leptin regulation. So it gets very messy.
Yeah, you can go.
And this is where I'm lucky, because that's why people end up coming to me and spending a fortune just to come sit in my garage, because that's what I specialize in. Helping find the reason why 1 + 1 is not equaling 2 for people. Because your average person, get them to train, get them to move, put them on a 2,000 calorie diet, they'll lose weight. However, your average person is no longer the average person today. What worked 20, 30 years ago doesn't work today, because the world today is very different than it was 20, 30 years ago. And those changes totally affect how the human body functions.
Oh. Let's get to the point, because I said at the beginning that train like an adult, not an influencer. If you ban 3 exercise from the commercial gyms tomorrow, what would they be and why?
The first one that I would ban from commercial gyms would be the assault bike.
Assault bike?
Assault bike.
Why?
Because the assault bike is the biggest perception of hard work known to mankind. It's a lie. It's a deceptive piece of equipment. So when you work upper body and lower body together at the same time, you will get to that level of pain cave 15 or 20% faster without actually having to do 15 or 20% more work. So kind of think of it like having a credit card. Just because your credit card limit's high doesn't mean you're rich. And that's why I'd ban the assault bike. It creates a perception of hard work that's an absolute fallacy. Just jump on a turned off treadmill and do a dead mill sprint. That will give you a much better result.
You had the name for that. You had the name. Hamster run, yeah?
Hamster runs, yeah. The hamster runs as well. But you see, that's the problem. Like on a hamster run, you know you're working hard. You can see you're working hard. There's no nonsense about it. But you go on an assault bike, you're going to hit that perception of pain much faster without actually doing the real work needed to get to that. But can I
tell you something just quickly? When I used to live in Moscow, so one day was their challenge, how many calories you can do on a assault bike within 45 seconds.
That's a good one.
Man. And I'll tell you, that's the only time that I remember that I was throwing up after the workout. I did 45 seconds. I was laying on the floor for 5-10 minutes, and then I went to toilet. Pile, like, there is like, I don't know what's going on. And for me, it was like, now when you're saying that, this assault bike just going through my mind, you know.
But you see, that's the point. It does damage without actually doing any real progress. It's a perception of pain that's not useful for the body. And that's why I'd ban it. I'd get rid of it. It's good for, let's say, a CrossFit competition where you want to create something quantifiable to make people feel sick.
Fatigue, yeah.
Fatigue. To make your client feel trash. Yeah, get them on there, 60 seconds on, 60 seconds off, they feel trash. You now look like a great coach. But are you actually a great coach? No, you're lying to them. Get them to do 60 seconds of dead mill sprints. Now you're a good coach, because you're teaching them real pain management in the legs. You're teaching them real ability to flush out lactic acid and to work their aerobic and anaerobic systems correctly. When you're doing upper body at the same time at 120%, you're just making someone feel like trash. Therefore, it's actually useless. It's not actually something that's beneficial for people.
2 more.
I can't remember the things I was going to come up with. I remember that one, the assault bike. I think the other one that I would definitely get rid of from your average commercial gym. Assisted dip machines. No, not this. You know the ones where you sit down and then you put the belt on? What are they called? Like
Assisted dip machine. Yeah, like deep machine. Like
trash.
But what for the people who cannot actually do the dips?
Hire a coach that can make them do dips.
That's a good one.
It's kind of like same thing with pull-ups. A good coach can get a female to do pull-ups, not chin-ups, pull-ups within maximum 16 weeks.
16.
Maximum 16. If you can't do that, you're not a strength coach.
I remember you were giving us this kind of case study how to make somebody do the pull-ups within 12 weeks.
Yeah. 12 weeks is what a good coach is. 16 weeks is like you're a coach.
Yeah.
Good coach is 12. But it's the same thing with dips. Like, my clients beef dips. They hate it when I put dips in their program because I make them do dips properly, gymnastic style.
Wow,
You
I
remember
this one. Wow.
But then, I had 2 tears in my shoulder. Within 12 weeks of identifying the tears, I was doing dips with body weight on my belt. Because dips are some of the best exercises for shoulder health. Had one jiu-jitsu athlete, fully torn labrum, no labrum in his shoulder, gone, halas. Medicine says it's game over. 16 weeks with me, he's doing dips with body weight and his labrums got back together again. So there's a problem with these fake dip machines. They're teaching people poor movement mechanics that aren't necessary. It's not needed. It doesn't need to be there. It's a waste of space. Put something more useful in there.
I was always thinking that inner and outer tights machine, it's just garbage.
That was the next one. That was number 3.
And then this is the absolute garbage for me. Honestly,
or when they do it like this and they're bent over doing it. Like, what are you doing? Like, get out. Like,
good girl,
go
bad
to a
girl.
strip club. Go away.
Yeah, I call them good and bad girl. Like good girl, bad girl. Are you a good girl or a bad girl? Are you closing or opening your legs? So for me, this was like always.
I've had guy clients that like to do it. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why are you even going near that machine?
Because I believe that these influencers actually they're posting all the time on social media. They would stand there, show their arse, and then just like film like fuck off, like it's not something that is working. Do not. They're just creating this kind of perception that this is something what
it's
works.
not needed in the. There is no viable reason to use an adductor machine. There's none. I can't think of a single one why anyone would want to use it apart from to maybe try and get a guy to hit on them in both contexts, male and female. A male doing it wants a guy to hit on them and a girl doing it wants a guy to hit on them because there's no reason to be bent over, opening and closing your legs like a clam.
All these variations are just like funny for me to see. And but for the assault bike, I didn't expect that, to be honest. Yeah. I think this could be a phase 1 where we cover somehow training, performance, strength, hypertrophy. Now we'll move into phase 2. Why coaches have poor client retention? What are the red flags that you see? And then we can speak about mentorship as well at some point. So I believe that people, actually coaches, they get to a point where they can get clients easier, but to keep them on, it's way harder, especially when it comes to transition from fat loss or weight loss to actually hypertrophy and strength, you name it. So what is the real problem that you see there?
So there's several problems. Now, the first problem is a business management problem. Rule number 1 of business, look after your current clients. That's an old business rule. I'm lucky I used to work in the FMCG market many years ago. But it's always the most important thing. Look after your current clients. Learn how to manage them instead of focusing on getting new ones. And that's currently the biggest mistake. PTs are too focused on getting new clients because they get complacent that they've already got their clients. That they stop caring. They stop doing the check-ins. They stop doing those conversations of goal setting. They've got complacent. You've paid me my 3 month up front. You've paid me my 6th month up front. La da 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 da. Let me find the next paycheck, because they've already spent that 3 month paycheck. It comes in, say they get 10,000 dirhams. They're straight to Dubai Mall, spend 10,000 dirhams. Average mong.
Yeah.
You know? And that's kind of the first big problem. They don't understand basic rules of business. Look after your current clients. You know, the current clients I've currently got, I've had one, I've been working with her since 2018. 7 years. Every month. 7-year client. I've got clients back from Kuwait more than 10 years ago who still work with me. What's the point in chasing new clients when you can retain what you already have? Makes your life easier. Makes them happier. It's the biggest mistake people make. They don't know how to retain because they're too busy focusing on getting
new clients. Yeah, and I have to agree with that. You said something really good on a call when we spoke. You said coaches are good at sales, but they are very poor at retention.
Correct.
Okay, you now describe what can be the problem, but why do you think is that something what we can call lack of knowledge, that they cannot actually design the program, or they cannot? There is a guy here. He said your client will leave you once you stopped painting their future. What is your stance on that?
It's a good phrase. I would word it slightly differently, but as a foundation, it's kind of the same thing. Your job as a coach is to direct your client or your athlete onto bigger and better things. Now, whether you are a health coach, you're trying to get them healthier. Whether you are a fitness coach, you're trying to get them fitter. Or whether you're a strength coach, you're trying to get them stronger. You've always got something bigger and better to help them achieve. And this is where the problem comes in. When someone is so focused on sales, and sales in the health industry is currently linked to basically my abs or the size of my butt and boobs, you're then very limited because you can't go anywhere past that unless you're going to convince them to do a bodybuilding show or a physique show. With which then your average PT will lose because they'll just go to the real pros like Andy Bell and just go to them, like those guys that actually know what they're doing. So kind of this is the problem that people have. They become so focused on only selling the one little asset they've got in their life, which is their butt, their boobs, or their abs. They don't have anything past that. Whether that's a lack of knowledge, a lack of, or pure ignorance, I don't know. But fundamentally, it is the role of the coach to direct and paint the future for their client, which is, hey, there are these cool things you can do. Now you're in shape, we can maybe do a high rocks, or we can aim to do some weighted pull-ups, or we can aim to do some double body weight back squats, or we can aim to run 10 kilometers in less than 60 minutes, or we can aim to try and run a 5-minute mile. There are so many cool goals that can be put together if a coach is a coach. But if your focus is purely aesthetic, you have nowhere to go once you've achieved it. You can't get leaner naturally without, like you said, as an athlete, you can't get leaner naturally without making sacrifices in your life that most people aren't willing to do. And that's then the problem that comes in. The people, the coaches, or the personal trainers are either not equipped because of ignorance or, like you've said, a lack of knowledge to know how to manage their clients, to understand there is life past abs. But that could also be because they themselves haven't lived a life past abs. So it's not a lack of knowledge, it's ignorance because they've never experienced it themselves. You've done a lot of cool things in your life, so you have understanding of knowledge past abs. Yes, you've got a great physique, but you used to be a gymnast, you've been to university, you've worked in sports. You've got a life and knowledge outside of just your abs, so you can understand a bigger picture, which helps you with retention. But if you've never had that, where are you going to go? I've done military, I've done CrossFit, I've done jiu-jitsu, I've done body comp, I've done strength training. I've done endurance running. I've been there, done that. I've been through all the different modalities. So I can understand there are many different things. The only thing I never really did was gymnastics or calisthenics. I tried it, I hated it, I said never again. But that's the one thing I probably wouldn't be able to work in. But does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. But now another thing is, it's bothering me for some time. The problem that I see in Dubai, I'll speak certainly about Dubai, because people, they do judge. You are a good coach. You're a good coach if you have six packs. You are a good coach if you are on cycle of steroids and you look great, but despite you don't know shit. You first you spend time on your phone while your client is next to you, or you're just running through the gym without any kind of program. But that's somehow, I've seen this only in Dubai. I've been traveling around the world, and I have to say that the amount of unprofessional people who I see day-to-day basis in Dubai is crazy. And that's just, I've spoken about that several times here on the show. There is no government body, right? Who is in charge of how do you work? Like, you don't have any kind of degree, you don't have any kind of certificate. How can you work with people? You are in charge of their health. And then another thing which I want to rewind back. My mentor was Mark, we spoke about, and he said one good thing. Whenever you think that personal trainer is just a job, let's say very low wage job, just stop for a moment and think how many people you've changed their life. Life, actually. Because they would show up miserable and you'll paint their day with a smile, whatever. You'll change the relationship inside the family, whatsoever. But the problem that I see, I think I'm speaking already too long, but I'm really sorry. The problem that there is no ethic inside the city, and there is no really good source where coaches can invest and learn. For instance, I'll say that again. I was blessed that I got across the road where you stand, and you were one of the first mentors that I had. Despite that I finished university and all this trash aside, I couldn't learn what I was able to learn under your guidance within 2 to 3 years. So it's already too long. If you can just give me your opinion on whatever I said.
It's, to pick up on a question and to round it off together, the red flags that are in coaches which link into the unprofessionalism, which link into the fact people are only selling because they look in good shape. Like, obviously, I am not in great shape. I've got photos from when I was. I've got medals to prove I was. But the biggest red flag that comes up is people that don't have data. They don't track anything. Let's say, I taught you body fat calipers. Good coaches for body comp will have a way of measuring fat that is respectable, which is not those cheap, my protein, plastic, trash body fat calipers. They're expensive, Harpenden fat spring-loaded calipers. Or the latest one, which is really cool, I haven't bought one yet. You can now do body fat caliper testing by ultrasound. So you use similar points as the Harpenden that I've taught you, but you put the device on, it measures the fat, links to the program on the computer, and auto-calculates it. Almost as good as a DEXA scan. And that's no lying then. There's no bad pinches, good pinches. It's really good. But a reputable coach will have that. Good coaches will have training programs where they're tracking the data, they're tracking the weights that are being loaded. Because that is how a good coach will progress someone. That's how you know a coach is good. That's how, as a coach, you can make sure your clients are being entertained sufficiently, or you're painting a picture because you're actually keeping note of what you're painting. Whereas when coaches are just turning up, seeing what's free and just going la da 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 da, they're the ones that are always going to have problems with retention because they've got nothing to prove anything has ever happened. You know what I mean? And then that comes from a lack of education, comes from a lack of governing body, comes from a lack of awareness of people. Like when I get clients that come to me that have been PTing for years and I say, can you get me your training program? Yeah, no problem. I'll get your training program. Great. I look forward to it because these are like some of the top Dubai coaches. People I know, I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys were doing for the years while I've been in my little cave. And I get, you know what I get? A Word document. Monday, 3x15, 2x15. I'm like, this is it? Yeah, this has been my program for like 2 years. This? You're paying that much? Come to the light, my friend. Look, you're going to set up here. You're on this training platform. All your data's tracked. Like, we get next level.
Yeah.
And I can pull up all my training programs going back to 2012 for all my clients. My stuff back to 2010. I've got the book somewhere. Because that's what you have to do as a coach. But then that's how you, as a client, know if your coach is worth their money.
But the clients, they don't know that. That's the problem.
They
That's
do
the
now.
issue.
They do now.
They do now. But the issue is that, like, you know, I'm based in this gym where I'm based. I don't want to speak about gym where I'm based, but there is that amount of coaches that I've seen that they're carrying the caliper.
Yeah.
And they know. Actually, they've been asking me, what's that?
Yeah. It's crazy.
I said, I'm just like, you know, doing my things here. Like there is no need to explain because they don't understand the things. And then second thing, as you said, I remember you were placing the tasks for me and Alex. We had your little sheet, and then we would get the John's case study, and we'll be like creating 16 weeks training program for Mr. John, according to your description. And I remember the day when I'll be very transparent, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. When you asked me what program plan you know, and it was back days 2017. Me and Alex, we just looked each other. We didn't know what to say. I didn't know what does it mean, how to create a training plan. And then you just see red flags then, like you thought it's normal to be on the floor without any pen, anything, because no one was doing that here. And when I used to travel, especially in Formula One, data is everything.
Yeah, you need it.
You need data first, data of training, data of your performance. How do you sleep? How do you perform? What do you eat? What kind of food? That's something that we'll speak later, because people, they run away from carbohydrates with no reason.
None.
And when this was shown to me on the way, I was, that's for sure. And then the amount of clowns that I see on gym floor is just insane. They're babysitting people. They're not coaches.
Correct. There's rep counters.
Exactly. And that's the reason why the real coaching is underrated here, because these guys are selling the trainings for the coffee cup. And then people, they think everyone is the same.
Correct. It's messy. You know, people will go for these coffee cup coaches, pay what? You said it was 150 dirhams is what some people are charging
like
now?
From even 100 dirhams you can find.
They'll come to someone like me and I say 1,200 dirhams. Like anything less than 1,200, I ain't opening my door. It's not worth my time. And people go, what the heck? And I go, yeah, but I do the maths for you. I say, you pay me 1,200 dirhams. You come to me for 1 month. In 1 month, you will get more results in 1 month than you will in 1 year. Like I had one guy, he just comes to me for consultations here and there to check in his calipers. He's got PTs, he's got all of this already. And I'm like, okay. And he came to me, I haven't seen him in 6 months. How's your results? He lost 0.9%. I said, is that good? And I said, yeah, it's all right. I said, for me, a male should lose 2 to 3% body fat a week. For someone like you who's so military, who trains so hard, 20 to 25,000 steps a day, double trains, has a private chef that does everything for him, there's no reason he can't be in shape. I said, that's trash. That's a pathetic result. You fire everyone. Come to me for 1 month, 2 to 3% a week, because that's what a real coach will get. So this is something business mentors will teach about. In 1 month with a real coach, you'll get better results than 1 year with a clown.
Yeah, I completely agree.
People don't think like
and that's the ROI. That's the real ROI.
Yeah.
You're not wasting your time and you're getting your results.
Correct.
Which costs way more than just giving 100 dirhams per
Correct.
class.
It's my clients.
150, you name it, 200. That doesn't matter actually. I believe that I know that you've been hiring mentors before, and we both spent some stupid amount of money and years learning the skill. When you look back at mentorships you did in past, what actually moved the needle for you?
So I will always remember it. It was a guy, Tom Crudgington, and he's a UK coach, one of the UK's top coaches. And he's a bit of a thug, but into martial arts, but also a genius, but into martial arts. And I remember in his mentorship with him, for the first time since I left the army, I vomited in training. And I remember in his training session, I'm vomiting, swallowing it, swallowing, because I'm not going to show people I'm vomiting. And because the guy was a genius, he taught me real-time under tension. He taught me how to apply science into the body to make sure the muscles are actually moving correctly and not just moving. So teaching people how to move in, say, a hip hinge that causes muscle pain versus just doing a hip hinge. So many people come to me and they've got like Romanian deadlifts on their program. They'll do it. They don't feel tired. They just can't do any more reps. They'll come to me. I'll drop the weight down 20% of what they were doing. 1 set of 8 reps, they're crying because I'm teaching them the application of muscular tension. And I'll always remember that moment. I said, this guy, fat, sorry, Tom, out of shape. You don't look at him and you go, no way. And he's there on one hand like this, hanging out like, what the heck? I'm like, what the heck? Like at the time, I'm like jacked, I'm in good shape. And I'm like, what the heck? How's he doing that? 50-something-year-old male, old belly, just like this. I'm like, what? How's he doing that? Because he understood tension. He understood how the body knitted together. And that's what he taught me. And it made me vomit. So because of that, I had a lot of respect for him. And that was a key turning point in my time as a coach. Because I stopped thinking about just science and started thinking science with tension and how the body knits together and putting the two together.
Yeah. Why do I ask? Because we've been speaking before that we are about to create some kind of mentorship where we can combine social media with actually getting the leads with the client attention. Getting the leads, you need to be at social media and skills, and then client attention and actually keeping them on track for a long period of time, you need to have the knowledge. So for the coaches that are listening today and thinking that they might be stuck and they don't know where to move, we will attach simple form.
Yeah.
Tell us your name, tell us your problems, and then we will review that and get back to you. Obviously, the link will be down in description, and I'll put some cards here up somewhere, so you'll be able to see. So when we speak about mentorship, I know for a fact that you've been coached by Charles Poliquin, one of the
Godfathers.
Exactly. What he was able to say 15 years ago, 10 years ago, it's still on. And if you can share with us some kind of things that you got from here and what would be valuable for the coaches who will be able to learn from the genius who is not with us anymore, unfortunately.
So honestly speaking, Charles Poliquin, he made me believe in myself. And that's what a good mentor does. He made me believe in myself. When I was working and learning from him and learning from Andre Benoit in 2015, I was as a person, I was in this sort of personal state of trying to prove myself. People didn't think I could do it. I'd quit a corporate job, went out to the Middle East to go work and revolutionize the fitness industry. And they're like, who is this guy? Like, just turned up here, and I was in this position when no one believed in me. And I was on a rampage. I've got to prove to everyone. I was on a rampage, but no one believed in me. My family didn't believe in me. And no one believed in me. And as a human, I was actually quite a big mess. But he made me believe in myself. He made me believe in me. And you know, he has so much knowledge, so much stuff to pass on, with which the reality is he was very nice because he put everything on the internet.
Everything was for free.
Everything was for free. That's what made me laugh. I learned so much about Charles from business in that don't do business. The more you give for free, the more people are willing to pay.
Right.
And that's what he did. He put everything out there for free. And he was very clever in business, but as a person, he put everything out there for free. Everything. The little secrets he kept hidden are literally 5% of the game with which only would help a professional athlete. So for the average coach, it's not needed information. And that's why he was genius. But then for me as a person, he made me believe in myself. And that's where that time in my life was key. Because a good mentor, outside of knowledge, a good mentor will make you believe in yourself. And I think, you know, you'll say the same thing from our time. I would always remember when I first met Luka. And I remember the last time, our last mentorship meeting, I remember how far he has come.
Yeah.
How far he has come. And I was like, oh, I'm proud of this man. He's come so far. He can go so much further, but we can always go so much further. So how proud I am of him. He went from being a teenage boy of a mess to a big hustler. Like, man, he nailed it. He nailed it. I always tell all my clients, I said, Luka went from this, and I won't say the number. I say, but he went from this to this. He earns this much a month as a coach. Wow.
It was crazy time, to be honest. And I remember, and still, I'm not sure how I was able to put everything. As you know, you knew more about my personal situation at the time, and I remember every session on Saturday morning was that I would show up drunk, unfortunately, and then I'll speak to you for an hour, and then we'll have another hour where you would actually coach me how to see the things. But anyways, this is the part of the life. So we will just get through the things where we have huge 2 phases to cover. We have to finish off the first phase where we are actually closing off today with this podcast, and we'll call this part 1. Again, guys, if you like this episode, do not forget to subscribe and show us some support
with
and
like.
Exactly, and you can ask the questions down there if you have anything that you would like to know. But in next episode, we'll be speaking about nutrition, carbs, protein, meats, TRT, creatine, and supplements. That would be the part 1. The part 2 will be mitochondria, biohacking, water, electrolytes, caffeine, and longevity. So for today, that's all. I'm very glad that we made this podcast, and I hope the audience will enjoy. Again, thank you so much for coming on.